Brethren, the presentation that I've taken from Solomon today is entitled The Changing Image of Freemasonry. We will look at how Freemasonry has evolved over time. But first, let's just set the scene. The image of Freemasonry that is so often and sadly seen on our TV screens seems to be of an undemocratic secret society, a misogynistic club for boys and their toys, a butt of TV sitcom humour, or as a very sinister power broker in local and indeed national government. These might all be summed up by the image of one rolled up trouser leg or the meaningful grasping of two white gloved hands. This leads to a number of questions. So what is Freemasonry? Is it a secret society? Certainly not. We do have secrecies distinguishing one level of responsibility from another, a link to a time when words and signs distinguished a master mason from an entered apprentice, but our membership is widespread and our activities completely open and above board. Are we misogynistic? No. Our historical tradition has been to offer membership to all free men over the age of 21. But a parallel and major commitment has always been to accord priority to our wives and female relatives. We no more dismiss all women than, say, Mumsnet or Mothers Union dismisses all men. Indeed, there are lodges of female masons in many towns and cities. Do we network privileged commercial information? It is not what we are about, although it is possible. It could be said that there are greater opportunities for such an exchange during 18 holes of golf, for example. Does clothing ever become awry? Yes, for a few brief moments on entry. This is to show a candidate that even when patently unkempt or dishevelled, he is willingly accepted into Freemasonry, not for the trappings of worldly wealth, but for the inner qualities that really matter. Is membership self-serving? No, quite the reverse. Our principles are of brotherly love, which is the care of all men and women, relief, a charitable instinct towards others, and truth, integrity, and the courage to stand up and be counted. We are encouraged to look outwards and never towards personal gain. So let's now look at the changing image over time. Let's return to the theme of image. While these principles of Freemasonry have remained constant for well over 300 years, its practice has never stood still. The Freemasonry of 1717 and say that of 2017 is completely different. The reasons are simple. We are either a natural part of the society from which we draw our members, or we are nothing. It follows that as society changes, so must we. Change is not a forbidden fruit, it's within the DNA of Freemasonry, and our sheer longevity stems from the ability to adapt and evolve. As society changes, so must our customs, and so has our image. This can be illustrated by one or two historical examples. The lodges of operative stonemasons were both places of employment and benevolent refuges in a harsh social climate. The principle and practice of brotherly love was in no way different from today. By the late 17th century, stone buildings were in decline and being replaced by brick. While a network of lodges remained, their location was no longer in a builder's yard. Within 20 years of the formation of a national organisation of speculative lodges in 1717, Freemasons' image was to change again. While the founders wished to keep as close as possible to the worthy moral principles of the operative Masons, the new members were no longer illiterate workmen. They were gentlemen of independent means, with the time and inclination to explore and discuss the world around them. Lodges had become transformed into dining clubs, with members speculating about both the very real mathematical secrets that the stonemasons had possessed and the significance in the Age of Enlightenment. The science of the Royal Society explained how speculative Freemasonry wished to explore the why. These gentlemen enjoyed a status above that of a working mason. As the threat of unemployment for disclosing secrets was never going to trouble them, the emphasis was now on a gentleman's honour to keep those secrets, colourly expressed as death before dishonour. Following the 1715 Jacobite rebellion, loyalty to the crown had to be both real and visible. Who better then to lead Freemasonry than a member close to the royal family? By 1721, the founders had attracted a nobleman to become the Grand Master, and nobles close to the royal family have headed Freemasonry ever since, with other members of the aristocracy leading the county or provincial organisations. In the 20th century, the prospective King Edward VII, King Edward VIII, and King George VI were both Grand Masters, and for over 30 years this connection has endured, with the current head being Prince Edward, Duke of Kent. In the 19th century, Freemasonry's image changed yet again, as men and ideas fled the countryside for the new heavy industries. A prosperous middle class of industrialists, businessmen, town councillors replaced the gentlemen of leisure and adopting the trappings of a moralistic Victorian society, promoting national charities and homes for widows, the sick and orphans. Our characteristic attire, the respectable dark suit and white gloves, had its origins in those times. With royal patronage and such strong financial support, Freemasonry attracted high public esteem. Masonic activities were placed alongside the Royal Court Circular in the centre pages of the broadsheets. As an example of this esteem, at the opening of the Masonic Meeting House in Swindon, as well as attendance by the mayor and civic dignitaries, a special train was run from Bristol bringing 500 Masons. They marched proudly along crowded lined streets from the station with banners flying. Freemasonry was a vibrant member of society. After the Second World War, there was to be a further burst of expansion and another change of image, as brothers in arms who had fought together planned to share their leisure together, and new lodges arose from this new classless society. During the final quarter of the 20th century, there were yet more changes to our society, following the age of the Beatles, free love and flower power. A far greater prominence was given to individual rights and far less to social responsibilities. The political mantra that there is no such thing as society, only the individuals, within it rang a cracked note for many organisations, including our own. So, Freemasonry today. In the looming technological age, most young men began to lead very busy lives. Working hours were longer, jobs more mobile and less secure, and true spare time became a luxury. Many wives and partners worked full-time, and like most happy young couples, they wanted to share their spare cash and spare time together. Single-sex social clubs and societies needed to be very special to justify membership. Encouragement of both recruitment and retention required appropriate changes in our organisation, our management, and, above all, our leadership. With decreasing church attendance and a reduction in Christian education, young men especially have been losing belief in a God or Creator. Today, it's believed that the proportion with such a belief is less than 25% of our young male population. It has seemed unusual to many to start and end a Masonic evening with a prayer or take an obligation on a Bible. As belief in a supreme being is mandatory, we have been very sensitive to this aspect when discussing membership. With far more members being independent and no longer accepting status or authority in others, not least from an unelected lodge, provincial or national committee, it is their lodge too, and they rightly exercise their right to question. That said, it is an aspect demanding respect. Given we are an historical hierarchical society with its authority based in London, hence in an ever-changing society with its fast-changing demands, we have become very focused on the vital importance of good two-way communications, such that we devote time and energy to ensuring we can respond to the changing social pressures and on prospective members with sympathy and understanding. Our image. So given the title of this paper, The Image of Freemasonry today, what image then would I wish you to take away with you? Freemasonry is one of the oldest non-religious social movements in the United Kingdom, with a continuous history dating back well over 300 years, from the late 17th century. Let's begin with the size and global spread of Freemasonry administered from London. Other countries have their own organisations. Worldwide, there are over 500,000 London-led Freemasons, with 200,000 in England and Wales and a further 150,000 in Scotland and Ireland. There are over 7,000 lodges in the British Isles, with almost another 1,000 lodges overseas, covering most of the colonial Commonwealth. Who are our members? As I have said, there cannot be a trade or a profession, a rank from Mr. to Royal Highness that is not represented. Men who have seen their families grow up and depart and now crave a deeper male companionship than, say, workmates or their neighbours, or that a pub can offer. Ages on entry are from 21 upwards, but in general, most new members are in their 40s or 50s. As an aside, brethren, that is about to change. The United Grand Lodge of England have decided that men from the age of 18 may now apply to join Freemasonry. Is Freemasonry some sort of religion? Well, by no means. We accept the nature of a creator, but there are no religious rites or ceremonies at any of our meetings. Our members are drawn from all major faiths, and we hold no particular one dominant. Are we simply fundraisers? Well, we raise millions from our own resources, which we share with good causes, disaster relief, things like that, at home and overseas. Many other organisations do this and do it very well. Why then are Freemasons so different? Could it be that many other bodies have become largely fundraising social clubs of a benevolent and philanthropic persuasion? The emphasis then becomes the club itself and how much money it raises, not on the man. Freemasonry, however, starts and ends with the man. The lodge is merely his location. I must emphasize our principles are clear, unwavering, and all-important. Hopefully these principles lead to an increase in personal moral awareness, inspired by our ritualized stories from Old Testament history and illustrated by symbols drawn from the organization of old operative Masons. We take pride too in our unbroken 300 and more years of English history. But where is the fun in this? It all sounds pretty serious. Be assured, when our formal meetings are over, we relax at the bar or over dinner with laughter, a common companion. Our wives and partners too can become involved in the social program of outings, meals together, and events that are normally part of all lodge activities. When asked about the advantages of being Freemasons, many men would merely say that fellow members of their lodge, in fact of any lodge they visit around the world, offered a warmth of friendship, a good-humoured conviviality, relaxing company after the rigours of the working day, and confronting sense of well-being. In essence, a feeling of acceptance for simply being who you are, rich or poor, young or old, allied to a strong sense of equality, whatever our title, whatever our income. Each lodge member is and has a vote of equal worth. However long our membership, and the master and the key officers are elected democratically. Like all good things in life, the more effort you put into Freemasonry, the more you will gain in self-worth. Excuse me, brethren. After a period of simply enjoying the company of your new colleagues, you will be invited to join a team who act out morality playlets. This involves a little learning by heart, but is rewarded by the close bond that is formed by becoming a member of any successful company in sport or drama, and the act of learning too encourages a richer understanding of the words and their meaning. Finally, we find that members want to share their new Masonic insights through a wider practical involvement in the world around them, their family, their colleagues, their neighbourhood, and the wider community. The more one offers, the richer can be the inner rewards. Now that completes the presentation, brethren. And at what better time in our history is there to talk about the changing face of Freemasonry? Given the pandemic, the trials and tribulations that many have been put through over the last 18 months or so, it is important that Freemasonry responds, reacts, and improves as a result of our life's experiences. Thank you very much for your attention, brethren, and I look forward to being with you again.